Good morning. Good morning. If you can hear me, you can share. Good morning. If you can hear me properly. Just tell me a good morning on the chat. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy 2026. Karibuni sana. I know it has been a while. So happy 2026. I'm so glad to see all of you joining us. You can tell a friend that we are on. You can share a link. You can share a link also. So let me see from your chats. We're going to start in the next very few minutes. I can see good mornings. All right. Also, you can tell us where you're watching the webinar from. Sometimes it is very, very important. I can see happy 2026. Happy. Karibuni sana. We are talking about eTIMS validation. And it's a very interesting topic, especially now. So karibuni, just tell me where you are from. And also, if this is your first time, if it is your first time, you can say a yes, so that we can give you a warm welcome. I always conduct these tax webinars. Tumeanza mwaka every month, 2 or 3 of them in a month. So I'll give you a full year calendar and also invite you to learning and more learning. And I know this year that you're going to even learn more. So karibuni sana. I want to see where you're watching the webinar from. Kindly tell me your location. Nakuru. Happy New Year too. Happy New Year 2026. And you can tell me what is your year for. How do you feel about the start of the year? Are you positive? Like me, I'm feeling so positive about the year. I believe 2026 is a birth of a new season. Yes, it's my first time. Lillian, karibu sana. We've been doing this webinar since 2020. So we can pride over 5 years of online training on tax consistently every single month. So Lillian, karibu sana, and learn as much as you can. These webinars are free of charge. Anaona Jonathan pia, karibu sana. Can see Nairobi, Kiambu, very positive about opportunities. I think so. I believe it's a better year. Malindi, I can see. Okay, karibuni sana sana. We wanted to be on TikTok live. Sijui inakwamia wapi. I've never done TikTok live. I don't know the nitty-gritties about it, but we shall be able to work it out as we proceed. Nani? Okay, so sorry. Okay. So, all right. Wale wanaendaga TikTok live, mtatuambia what you do. If it refuses, I will do it again because I had promised. I'll do it. I'll revisit the topic again when we are able to hack it and possibly a better time. So, karibuni sana. Let's proceed. With our topic today, I would want to ask you, Margaret from Home of Specialty Tea, Margaret, Tea Value Addition Pro. Margaret, thank you so much. She's also telling us what she does. Thank you, thank you. It's also nice. Na Margaret, kuna mtu amekuuliza, where are the samples? Okay. Okay. Karibuni. Jonathan ameniuliza, do you have 1,000 followers? Yes, you are almost 50,000 followers. If you've never followed me on TikTok, I train on tax. So Regina Kengori, you can follow me. We have 50,000. We are almost at 50,000 followers. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, let's proceed as we try to handle that on the other side. So wacha tuendele. I want to hear what do you understand about the validation process before I take you through the process and what KRA is expecting. So I'd want to know just one person from the chat. Or let me ask, have you tried to file your return for year 2025? Ama hapa ni wale wa last minute, wale wa June 30th, June 25th. So have you tried? Or what do you understand? Not yet. Sylvia anasema 5 months to go. Okay. All right. So as I look at your, let's proceed to the training so that I can give you time to ask me as many questions as possible. I hope you can be able to see my notes vizuri. Wacha niziweke kwa slideshow. I hope you can be able to see nicely. If you can see my notes, you can say a yes. Okay. Sawa. So we understanding the KRA eTIMS validation process. So this will be my content. So what is KRA validation, eTIMS validation exercise? What to expect from the validation exercise? Transactions exempted from eTIMS and solution. So I'm going to be talking about the validation process, eTIMS, and I guess after this, we're also going to learn about how to effectively use eTIMS. I also think that most of us struggle in that area. And if you've not onboarded eTIMS in your organization, sasa ni kama hatuna mwaka ingine ya kugoja. Now we are fully on eTIMS use. So for the year 2026, you have to be using eTIMS very, very well. So we'll also be talking about the different types of eTIMS, how to use eTIMS effectively. I can do that training after we do the validation process to just tell you what is going on. I wanted to put on slideshow. Sijui ama ni December nimekula Christmas. Okay. So this was a notice that was stated on 7th November 2025. So remember, eTIMS was, we started use of eTIMS in the year, actually January 2023. And that particular year, there was demonstrations, finance bill challenges. And all of a sudden, because we were told we have to use eTIMS totally, those issues kind of went down. So we stayed 2023, 2024, just using eTIMS on our sales, but not very keen on our purchases and our expenses until we have gotten this validation of income and expenses in the income tax return. And that is what I'm going to explain today, what this entails. So I'm going to go through the letter. KRA wishes to inform taxpayers, stakeholders, and public that effective January 2026, it will be beginning validation income and expenses declared in both individual and non-individual income tax returns against the following data sources. So the data sources are three: eTIMS or TIMS invoices. There are still people who are using TIMS. So when eTIMS was introduced, we first got an introduction of TIMS. So from ETR, we went to TIMS. We used TIMS for, I guess, 6 months or below 6 months. We didn't even get to a year. Then eTIMS was introduced. And I've mentioned here before that the difference between TIMS and eTIMS, TIMS both operate the same. They can generate information to KRA on real-time basis, because the difference between, first of all, ETR is that an ETR was an independent machine. That when I would come to buy goods in your organization, in your business, you just input details there, and then information is left there in your business. Not unless later during audit, KRA will ask you for Z reports. You go generate a Z report from the ETR machine. But now they wanted that the sales that you're doing on a daily basis, they get to view that sales on their database every single day. So that is why we got the introduction of Teams. This was because of VAT irregularities, fraud, and so many things. And especially if you are there around 2022, 2021, we did what was called VAT, VAA, inconsistencies, matching, and then we got to Teams. Now, when Teams came on board, it was able to send information. Huh? I was asking. Oh my goodness. Abukuja. Oh, okay. Poleni, let me share the screen. I don't know where my screen went. Pole sana. Alafu, I'm unable to do slide. Amekaitu hivyo. I stop share. Mhm. I hope you can see now. Okay. Okay, apologies for that. By the way, I was on maternity leave. I think it has been a while. Okay, let's proceed. So I think the difference between Teams and eTIMS is this. Both of them can be able to transmit the data, but eTIMS is able, it has what we call a stock management system. So for Teams, when I come to the business, I'll ask for items, possibly items worth 30,000. And then you just go to the machine and generate an eTIMS. You remember the one that we attach, especially those ones that we attach. But for eTIMS, you have to specify the exact thing that I bought. So if it was a wholesale and I bought flour, I bought cooking oil, soaps and everything, you have to specify the items that I bought. So that is the difference between TIMS and eTIMS. After a year of using TIMS, the eTIMS was introduced, and at the moment, we are fully using eTIMS. So TIMS is no longer available out there to be sold. So if somebody told you that I'm selling TIMS, it doesn't happen. It's only eTIMS. And eTIMS is different categories. I mentioned that we shall be talking about effective use of eTIMS as we proceed. So let's proceed. Apologies, nilikuwa distracted kidogo. So let's proceed. What is KRA eTIMS validation exercise? What does it entail? Remember, when it comes to income tax has your sales, it has your purchases, and it has your expenses. At the tail end, it has your net profit. That is where we charge the 30% corporation tax. Or if remember this has stated that it is for individuals and non-individuals. Someone asked, who are these both individual? Individual are sole proprietors. So if you're a sole proprietor and you have a business name, you're going to have your business name there. And you're going to do your income tax. And still, you're going to be verified under these three ways. The other ways was income tax. What withholding income taxes? Withholding means I came to your organization, especially like me, a consultant, you did 5%. Or there was also the withholding of VAT. But also, even if it is me as a consultant coming to you, remember I also generated an eTIMS invoice so that I can give you, so that when you are paying me, you can also be able to withhold. So eTIMS is the basis of these verifications. Import records. So some of you say, my goods are not on eTIMS because I imported them. Remember, at the import system, the details are submitted there. Actually, today, if you're doing a VAT return, you do an import, you find the import records on the VAT when you're doing the VAT auto population, the validation at the end of the month. So any import, you're going to find it on your system. So, so those are the three parameters. Otherwise, all the businesses within Kenya, they should be having this. You're having eTIMS. If you don't have eTIMS, there is a withholding on that amount. If you did an import, there is those declarations. So that is very, very important. What about those people who are doing export? They are also supposed to do their sales on eTIMS. So they're supposed to do their sales on eTIMS. So their sales was going to be eTIMS compliant. So what are this validation does it entail? It says that the moment that we file our income tax return, so you've come to me, I've done your audit, I have your sales, your purchases, and your expenses. The moment we declare that information to iTax, iTax is supposed to back check and say, you said your sales is 7 million. What did you declare in your VAT return from January to December? It is 7 million, they tick. Then it goes to the next point. What about the purchases? Purchases which were eTIMS compliant, they check. And then the expenses which were eTIMS compliant. So, and it is something that is happening in 1/minute of a second. The moment we file, the The moment we file, the information is coming immediately. So possibly I can share the information that KRA is giving. So this is the information that the total purchases expenses per eTIMS invoice of Kenya shillings, 0, it can include also the amount, excluding exemptions, is less than what has been claimed in the return. So in a minute of a second, they can be able to do this, and it is an error, and it is telling you that you go to KRA. I'll talk about the going to KRA as we proceed. So let's proceed to that. So that is so what is KRA eTIMS validation exercise? They want to verify the declared income. So the declared income that you have declared. And remember, the declared income, we have the sales which are standard rated. We have exempted sales. We have zero rated sales. And remember, I said you cannot declare sales beyond what you did on a monthly basis. So that is somebody who has VAT. For someone who is non-VAT, and I'm also mentioned here before, you don't have to be VAT registered for you to have eTIMS. If you're not on the threshold, you use your eTIMS, and that eTIMS sales is what you're supposed to declare on your income tax. So this sales is going to be declared, it's going to be validated on your VAT, on your income, on your turnover tax. And still, even if you're doing turnover tax, you have to use eTIMS. eTIMS is a basis. So if you're doing turnover tax on a monthly basis, the turnover tax, the sales that you're going to declare there should be the sales on your eTIMS Z report on a monthly basis. So then they are going to verify the claimed expenses. So the claimed expenses that are only allowable where they are supported by eTIMS. Which are these expenses? We have expenses of rent, fuel, petty cash items. If you bought lunch for your staff, if you bought items to come and cook lunch for them, if you buy an asset, a computer, everything has to be on eTIMS. And in not just being on eTIMS, is also being able to be filed. There are some of us that have eTIMS invoices, especially for expenses, and we don't file them. So file on a monthly basis. Like us, when we are doing audit, when we pick the VAT, your VAT purchases. Remember, when you're filing VAT, you have your sales and then you have your purchases. On these purchases, that is where also we have the expenses. So you find that some of the purchases on that on the list, they are expenses. This is fuel, there's rent there, there's repairs, renovations. It is still under purchases. So when we are doing audit, we separate. This is purchase, this is expenses. So everything should have been there on the system, the sales, the purchases, and the expenses for the income tax. So we are not supposed to do an income tax beyond what you've been doing on a monthly basis. So, and also for that eTIMS to be able to auto-populate and to be effective, you have to provide your PIN. And this is also something that where we missed out. Of course, I know the return has areas where you can input data, but the best possible position is to also make sure that you give your PIN to the buyer where you're buying your items, give out your PIN and have it there. If you don't give out your PIN, there's a section where you can input the data. But if it is something that is very huge, it has to auto-populate. It has to auto-populate very well. So invoice transmission requirement, it is not enough to issue an invoice. The invoice must successfully transmit to KRA via eTIMS during validation. So some of us, we issue invoices and we just don't make sure that they are able to transmit. And previously, I mentioned how you can be able to do an invoice checker. That invoice, next time I'll be able to show an invoice. There is a scan. You can scan an invoice. You can go to KRA portal and be able to check that invoice number and do an invoice checker. So it is very, very important. And some of us had an issue, but I know right now we don't have those major issues where a supplier would come in, you pay them, they have given you an eTIMS invoice. By the time you're coming to file, you find that the eTIMS invoice is not validating or is not auto-populating, and you're like, what will happen? So right now, I always advise, before you pay your suppliers, go do an invoice checker, scan it, and make sure that the details, you can be able to see the details, then you can do the payment. Otherwise, if you just wait until the close of the month, then the following month, remember VAT is, we are doing it on a monthly basis. By the way, the other times we will say that purchases are valid for 6 months. I don't know if that rule applies now. I think it used to apply a long time ago, because today if you do a purchase, you're going to find it on your portal immediately. So there's no log, there's no backlog of purchases like we used to have when we were doing manual recording. We would have that backlog that, and actually would choose to say, this one I will declare them this month, the other ones I declare them the next month. We would plan on how to actually use the purchases. But now, the moment you give out your PIN, you find your details on the VAT return. So I don't know if that rule applies. You can tell me on the chat. So that is very, very important. Also, identification of compliance gaps. The validation exercise identified, it is supposed to identify under declaration of sales. So what are they looking for? They are looking to make sure that that you declare your total sales. And remember, this is a process. Someone would say, if then they are going to do validation of this process, does it mean that we will no longer be having tax compliance checks? Does it mean we will no longer be having the audits, the tax audits checkups? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that the biggest portion of audit will be captured by this process, such that possibly year 2027, when we'll be considering to do audit for year 2026, they'll just be now looking for bank statement. Actually, the only thing now will be left will be bank statement if this process goes through, because the process itself is able to capture all your sales, capture all your purchases, and all your expenses. Because anything else that is not eTIMS compliant or compliant with the three, we said eTIMS, withholding, and import records, it is not viable. So you cannot introduce it when you're doing your income tax returns. So that means that there will be no other checks. KRA will no longer ask you for your purchases. They'll no longer ask you for sales ledgers and what you have provided is what is supposed to be there. Now, they'll be looking at your purchases. They'll be looking at your bank statement, and possibly if they go further, they can be able to see if you have under declaration in that area. But you can no longer introduce more purchases. You cannot introduce more expenses, because whatever they will do, the validation they will do through this process will be enough. So overstated or unsupported expenses, of course, if they are unsupported expenses through eTIMS, they are going to disallow them. So it means that if it is not supported through eTIMS, it is not valid. VAT claimed without valid eTIMS invoices. I don't know if we are claiming any invoice VAT without eTIMS invoices. At the moment, KRA has done a lot of regulations on VAT. Today, even if you're registering for VAT today, there's a lot of process for VAT registration. And I know some of you have seen those VAT registration and you're so angry about the process. But it's just to make sure that whoever is getting that VAT obligation is a valid company. They are going to use eTIMS. They just want to clean up the VAT process. And remember also, some time back, we used to have missing traders, invalid invoices, VAT invoices being sold out here without valid amounts or valid transactions. They want to close all those areas so that the eTIMS process and the VAT process becomes very, very efficient. Mismatch between eTIMS data and filed returns. So this process is going to also be able to synchronize that. Consequences of non-compliance, of course, issuance of additional assessment, disallow expenses and VAT claims. So we're going to have those disallowed. So if you have a full chunk, I don't know, and I'll post this question and ask especially for year 2025, how effective are we in the use of eTIMS? Are you 40%, 50%, 60%? And then they are going to impose penalties and interest on those, especially on the additional assessment and the issues they are going to raise. During the process, they have stated that if your return is not you don't have the eTIMS invoices, or it is not going through, that we should be able to go to KRA. I don't know if they are going to take the process of checking, validating those expenses one by one. Then they tell you we have accepted this one, then we have not accepted the other one, then they disallow others. We don't know the process that it will follow, but it is a punch to say we have started year 2026. Make sure that all your purchases and all your expenses are on eTIMS. So many of us have stated that eTIMS it's going to change how we do business. Of course, this has been there, especially from the time eTIMS was introduced. It was bound to change how we do business. And the essence of eTIMS was to push compliance to about 90%. And you can also tell me if your business is pushed to 90% tax compliance, can you be able to survive? Because most of our businesses survival is when we are not paying taxes or enough taxes. But for and I mentioned here before, if your business is supposed to go to the next level, that is the level that you go to corporate level, you go to even LTO, large taxpayers office, MTO, then your compliance level has to move up. So the more sales you're doing, the more compliance should be done in your organization. So if this year 2026 you said last year we did 50 million, this year would want to do 100 million, then as you plan on that, plan on tax compliance, because the higher you go, the more visible you are. Some of these things that we do when we are just down here, it is not applicable as you grow, as the company grows. So look at your business and say, if I'm 90% tax compliance, can I still make profits? If it is a yes, then those strategies should be put in place, because at the moment you cannot grow to those levels without such compliances. When we audit companies which are at large taxpayers' office, The level of audits are so thorough, such that those people are almost 100% compliant. Yes, they get their profit, but they also pay their taxes. So this is also something, I believe, sometimes I feel when it comes to taxes is also a mind shift change. Because if you don't want growth, then taxes is not a problem. Especially for our people who, if you're doing 5 million and below, taxes is sometimes you're just learning for the sake of it. But as you move your business up to 10 million, to 20 million, to 50 million, then the compliance question, you have to ask your question and ask for, if this business was pushed to a compliance level, can I still make my profits? Can I still be able to maintain my business? Because this is where we are headed, and it is clear. It is clear that we are headed in that direction. When eTIMS was introduced on our sales, it was very punitive. And by the way, we never thought that we can be able to incorporate eTIMS on our sales fully. And we fought, actually, for me, I really fought with customers, telling them to onboard eTIMS. It was very, very difficult process. But we are there. We've been able to onboard eTIMS on our sales in a very big way. So now we are moving to the next level, that we have onboarded eTIMS on our purchases and our expenses. There will be issues, but as we move, then we can go to that compliance level. And the compliance level is supposed to push your business to the next level. So a common taxpayer's misconception about eTIMS. So I wanted to mention a few. A common, that is that eTIMS only affects VAT compliance. So that is a misconception. I mentioned that eTIMS is used for both VAT and non-VAT. So eTIMS is an eTIMS to monitor business transactions for all businesses in Kenya. So it is supposed to monitor business transactions. So either you're VAT registered, and VAT registration are 3. They're the standard rated. Even if you're selling exempt items like animal feeds, you're supposed to have eTIMS. Like schools, you're supposed to also have eTIMS invoices. Hospitals. Today, a hospital, you cannot be able to ask for insurance money when a patients come to the hospital and they are treated, and they do the insurance. For you to ask the insurance company for that money, you must issue the insurance company an eTIMS invoice. Those eTIMS are exempted, but you have to give an eTIMS invoice. So even for institutions that are exempted, eTIMS is a must. Then we also have people who are below 5 million. You're selling something, eTIMS, you're also using eTIMS. In reality, eTIMS data is used to validate VAT, income tax, pay, withholding tax simultaneously. I should have removed the pay. Another misconception is that expenses are not viewed, yet expenses validation is central point of the exercise. So I mentioned, some of you asked, where do we incorporate expenses in the eTIMS? You file your expenses when you're doing your return, your VAT return, when you're doing your purchases. You also file for the purchases and all the expenses. Anything that has eTIMS, you file it there. So that the moment the validation is done, it will just capture that information automatically. The use of eTIMS does not automatically mean a taxpayer is VAT registered or reliable to charge VAT. I've mentioned that. So VAT applies for both VAT and non-VAT. So what are some of the transactions that are exempted from eTIMS? Emolument, that is pay as you earn earnings. So the pay as you earn, when you do salaries are not expenses liable to eTIMS. So we have pay, we have wages, those ones. But on the other side, when it comes to validation, we have the pay return that is supposed to validate the data that you have provided. So for your wages, remember that you have correct documentation of your wages. So most of us pay people, you pay by M-Pesa, you pay by petty cash. By the way, and this I did mention in my notes, this one, write it somewhere. The biggest portion of this validation, where you have a problem, it is on our petty cash. Because most of us, how we keep our petty cash has a lot of documentation errors. So if you're paying people possibly on a weekly basis, do you have wages sheet? I mentioned here before, wages sheet, this is the name, the ID number, the amount, and they sign. Make sure that they sign every day, every time that you're paying them. So you have your pay. And last year, by the way, if you filed salaries in your income tax return and you did not have pay as you earn obligation already at the moment you're going through audit. So if you don't have pay as you earn and you filed salary, that is one of the biggest trigger. But now during the validation, they will check what did you file for your pay as you earn. You filed 3 million. Then in your income tax, how much have you filed? You have filed 5 million. What is the difference? That automatically will signal an audit. Then, so mostly we do this. You file 3 million in your income tax, 3 million in your pay. If you have other wages, those wages, you have wages sheet. But if you don't want tax audits at all these cashiers, if you have people that you're paying them of below 24,000 in the company and they're just there regularly on a regular basis, have them, all of them on your pay return, so that the pay return captures all the people, even the people who are below the 24,000, those ones, sometimes we call them their wages, just have it there. Then the data will just validate itself without creating issues. So the moment you put them there will be nothing. They will just be 000. But that data is very important on the KRA side to just show that you're incurring this expense. So imports, imports are exempted from eTIMS, but we said the import data is there. So the moment you import, you find that data on the import sheet on your VAT. So the import data is captured automatically. Airline passenger ticketing, interest income, and similar financial receipts, fees charges by financial institution. These are bank charges, excise. Sometimes they are very minimal. Possibly, if during the validation process, if it is signal something very, very huge, KRA can be able to raise a query. And also some of these fees charged, it is very, very easy to capture them and to just show them. And for instance, if you say that your fees was 1 million, KRA will ask you for that bank statement and tell you justify all those fees coming to 1 million. So some of this you cannot hide on the areas where there is no eTIMS verification. Services by non-resident without permanent establishment, investment allowances, expenses subject to withholding taxes. So all of this, but I mentioned the moment you have them on your income tax return, signal and audit. So make sure you have proper documentation, other proper documentation, that is you're having airline passenger ticketing, you have all those tickets with you, the interest income, similar financial, you have all of them, fees charged by institution, you can be able to justify all those expenses and you have them in the case of a query. What to expect from the validation exercise? So what do we expect? and you can continue asking a question. I'll have time to answer the questions. System audits and warning. The eTIMS system will flag mismatched between your declared sales and what your supplier reported. So we used to have this long time ago. So I don't know if we still do this. This was something that was happening, that I could get an invoice. I could buy something, get an invoice of 500,000. The supplier writes 1 million, 1.5, because the supplier is looking for VAT, a way to reduce their VAT. The same invoice, same date, same amounts, same dates, same items, but different amounts. And that used to happen some time back, but during the system, it can be able to signal something like that. Blocked filing or nil filing, all under declared returns. Blocked filing or nil return, all under declared return. Last year, we had people who did nil filing, yet they had eTIMS data. And by the way, KRA is still conducting those audits. If you had eTIMS data and you filed a nil return, there were some stations, not so many, but there were stations that gave out that data and they started doing audit. How does that happen? This happens especially for individuals or companies. Someone just tells you, oh, I have a kawak, I have some business here and there, just generate an eTIMS. You go to your phone, you generate an eTIMS invoice using the USSD. Remember, I will mention the other time when I'll be talking about effective use of eTIMS. There's different forms of eTIMS. So kuna hiyo ya simu, USSD code. There is the one that you go to the cyber. So you go to the cyber and generate an invoice and you do the work and you leave. So those people would have 2-3 invoices under eTIMS, yet they filed a nil return. So come the end of the year, they just did a normal nil return. So that data, at the moment, the audit is happening. But for year 2025, that will not happen. You will not be able to file a nil return if you have eTIMS data. So the system will signal immediately to tell you, no, don't file eTIMS, don't file a nil return. You have incomes that you need to declare. And this is the issue also that comes in when we do reverse invoicing. Remember, most of us asked, what about Mama Mboga? I want to buy from her some sukuma wiki for the office and other items. Or there is a welder, they don't have eTIMS, and Boda Boda guy doesn't have eTIMS, and I want to promote them. I want to give them business. And they have come, but on the other side, they should provide me an eTIMS invoice. What do we do? So they introduce reverse invoicing. But reverse invoicing through eTIMS also has a challenge that this person has to accept. They have to accept. So there's a code that is sent to them to accept that invoice. So that is also a challenge. And I believe that they're supposed to accept so that during KRA, because KRA will come one time and tell them that they have they sold to you or there was some transaction between you two, and they will be asking taxes on their site. So they have to be aware that there are some transactions that happened here, and then I'm supposed to pay taxes. So reverse invoicing has that challenge. But you can be able to generate an eTIMS invoice for whoever, because nobody in Kenya who doesn't have a PIN certificate. Okay, so potential penalties or okay, so potential penalties or audit triggers, continuous discrepancies or failure to amend returns may trigger, audit interest under declared VAT, penalties for non-compliance. So of course, after the whole process, if your expenses are disallowed, there are some monies that you're supposed to pay, and they also come with penalties and interest. And they will also signal an audit. If you're having so many issues, it will just now signal a total audit. I'm imagining that when we are filing for 2025 and you go there and you have like 50 or 60%, I don't want to scare somebody, 50 or 60% purchases and expenses which are non-VAT. They'll tell you that they would want to see 2024, 2023, 2020. So, but we're going to see how the process is going to be. Enhanced transparency and compliance. So businesses can expect closer monitoring. So regular reconciliation with eTIMS will become a best practice for all entities. So I guess anytime that you're going to do a business, even especially as accountant, if you're so enhanced on eTIMS that you can be able to operate your sales eTIMS very well, and then you can be able to do your purchases on eTIMS. Now eTIMS will be the language of the day if you must operate a business. So you make sure that when you're paying somebody, when you're paying for anything, you have received an eTIMS invoice, and especially significant amount, be able to do a checker that eTIMS invoice, it is valid, and you can be able actually to auto-populate the data and find the data that is valid. Some of these companies, I know some of our clients, especially Wahindis, the moment you give them an invoice, they have to validate it. They cannot pay you even a single coin before validation. So that is the essentially where we are headed to. So impact of nil filing, impact of eTIMS validation for nil filers are mentioned. That there will be a closer check. So nil filers with actual sales reported in eTIMS. And I mentioned that this mostly affected people who you've been operating with a company, you've been doing a business with a company, but now they want to be eTIMS compliant. They tell you, for you to supply us, you have to give us eTIMS. So you give out eTIMS, possibly just like one in a month or two. Then remember that at the tail end, you have to declare your taxes. And this is a ripple effect, because for you're selling, so you have purchases, for instance, worth 3 million, 2 million, that's what you've been able to supply. And you've used eTIMS non-VAT. I mentioned that eTIMS is a cross-board. So you've been able to provide that sales for 2 million, 3 million. Then you, as an individual or a company, you'll be required to file your return. And that return that you'll be filing for your sales, which are on eTIMS 3 million, you have to declare purchases and expenses which are on eTIMS. So here eTIMS, I see, mommy, you're moving from manufacturer to wholesaler to retailer to it's just a process. And I know when eTIMS was introduced, one time I was called by a company, an avocado company. It was really they buy a lot of avocados, and they told the farmers, from going forward, you shall be issuing us eTIMS invoices so that we can be able to pay you. So they told me, do a sensitization of eTIMS to these farmers so that they understand what will be going on. And let me tell you, it was not an easy conversation. But this company was saying, period, if we ourselves as a company, we have chosen to be compliant. So we are not buying any avocado that doesn't have eTIMS invoices, and they are telling farmers. So farmers, I had to take them through what eTIMS means and what eTIMS data, that data of avocado. They have sold this company avocado worth 500,000, a million. What does it entail on their side? It entails that they pay taxes on that sale. And it was not easy. And by the way, at the tail end, because I also felt very emotional, because they will tell us, oh, we spend a lot of money on this farming. This money is supposed to take our children to school and so many areas. The people that were listening so keenly, and people who are asking very questions. I came to understand there were people who are doing the biggest sale to this company. And when we finalized, we went on the side and they came and they told us, so now I need to register a company. I need to do this. I need to keep my books correctly. What do I need to do? And by the way, we might find eTIMS very complex because it's complex. It's a new system. It's becoming complicated for businesses. But in the mix of that, there are people who are seeing the opportunity to do a compliant business and jumping into that ship and moving on. Wamesema chapter closed. Now we are no longer in a Moi era. Kibaki imekuja imepita. Now we are here and we need to survive. We need our businesses to survive and go to the next level. And then they jump ship. And they tell me, now tell me, I want to be eTIMS compliant because I want to supply this avocado to the company and I need to make money. How do I do my books? How do I do this thing and still get my profits? And it was a wonderful conversation. The reason why I've been doing a lot of TikTok videos, the reason why I push, sometimes when we are stuck on something, a system, and a system is not changing, we missed out on the next level. Of course, there are so many businesses that are going to be pushed out. There's that portion. But there's a portion where you as an organization, as your business, and especially businesses that are growing, businesses that you want, remember the other time, and I've always mentioned that most companies, you start at the station level, KRA station level. Then you go to medium taxpayers office, you go to large taxpayers office. At the station level, that station level is when your company is growing, is a point where you're looking at eTIMS and saying, I'm unable to incorporate eTIMS in my business. If I incorporate it, we close it. We close down. I want a black market, or I want to sell with cash. Regina, how can I sell in cash and not issue an invoice, and how do I keep money? It's okay to ask all those questions. That's okay. And you can ask those questions when you are at the station level. When your business is small, you can ask all those questions because you're fighting business survival. That's okay. But the moment that business is moving to the next level, you're going to the medium taxpayers office. There are not those chances. Those chances are not there anymore. You have to incorporate compliance. If you're going to push that business to a large taxpayer's office, you're doing $1 billion turnover per year, then compliance is non-negotiable. eTIMS, that is where now you find, when I'll be teaching eTIMS, I will show you the eTIMS that is onboarded online eTIMS. That eTIMS online, you've incorporated in your ERP such that any invoice that is generated in the organization, hata hakuna kufikiria eTIMS inatoka tu nayo. You're not thinking that do I choose this one to gonga eTIMS? Do I not choose this one? And then I choose this one, then this one I pay cash, then this one. You're no longer having those issues. You have fully accepted tax compliance, for the necessity of that business going to the next level. Otherwise, that business will not move to the station, to the MTU. It's going to be extremely hard for you to survive tax audits at that particular point because they are very thorough. Those audits are extremely thorough. They check everything. They check all your bankings. They check your sales ledgers. They check all your expenses. They can send somebody to come. I've conducted so many, we call them internal audits, system audits, tax audits, system tax audits, where KRA will come to your business with system auditors and audit your server. So those are the levels of MTOs and LTO. So if your servers are audited, can you survive tax compliance? So that is a question that I pose. So down here we ask question. If you ask me those questions, how do I do this? I will explain. But as company growth, compliance becomes something that you cannot be able to negotiate so much. So effective nil filing with actual sales reported on eTIMS. So I mentioned that effect of filing process. The system will block the submission until return reflects sales matching eTIMS. We have mentioned that one. And also, there's something that we call special table. I don't know if we declared that one here. There's what we call special table when you're not using eTIMS. No, when you're not using VAT correctly. And also it's posing to be a very, very hard process for you to go through the special table process. So special table comes in if you're not using VAT properly, if you have a credit that has been there for a very long time, if they detect irregularities, and the moment you're on a special table, you can ask, why was I put on special table? And they can give you that explanation. So the main reasons you are on VAT credit for a long time, you have VAT irregularities, you have VAT payments that you're not paying, you having cash flow issues, and you have payments that you're not paying, and it is posing to be tougher than even tax audits. System special table is becoming very, very difficult. So make sure that your VAT, you're doing it very, very well, so that you're not pushed there. When you're not on special table, and I guess you come and placards to touch you. When you're on your special table, your eTIMS, you don't use your eTIMS machine. So ni kama biashara inasimama. And it is very ruthless because you cannot issue someone an eTIMS invoice. Ni kama uko stuck. And then this process will take a month, 2 months, 3 months. Ni kama biashara yako imesimama. And remember, you cannot sell without an eTIMS because the people who are coming to buy, the moment they hear you don't have an eTIMS, wanasema, hapana, let's go to the next place. So you lose business. You can even actually close down because of special table. So make sure that you understand VAT properly. You do it properly. Your eTIMS doesn't have issues. There are people who also operate eTIMS vibaya. Unagonga tena, issue credit note, sijui haiku submit, especially accountants. Resubmit tena. Those things, because KRA can be able to see on the other side, kidogo uko special table. Then you're told to explain why you're having that credit. Unakuwa na invoice, then a credit. An invoice, a credit. What is the problem with your eTIMS? So those issues, and that issue, by the time unaisolve ni miezi 3 na umefungiwa eTIMS, huwezi uza. So it is a very rough process. So, and also just understand more about special table so that you're not caught up on the process. Impact of under-declaring taxes. Those who under-declare sales lower than eTIMS will be affected. So we are going to do a lot of cross validation. So those are under so withholding and eTIMS validation. Let me talk about this before I want to come back to your questions. So ask your question. I want to start answering your question. In the eTIMS validation exercise, KRA also cross-checking sales declared on your eTIMS sales with the withholding taxes data. So remember, I also mentioned any withholding, there must be a eTIMS. So withholding Igani, I came to your organization, I gave you an invoice of 200,000, you did 5%, you gave me a withholding certificate. So the eTIMS data, the eTIMS invoice that I gave you and the withholding certificate, those details should be able to match what was done. KRA comparing to confirm the income subjected to withholding tax is matching eTIMS invoices. I mentioned that. And also, not just withholding taxes on income tax, also on VAT, that is also done properly with the invoice that was provided. So I mentioned this is the error. So it is telling you that there's a mismatch, but also there is a portion, please claim the correct amount and proceed with filing. So claiming the correct amount means you claim the amount that you filed for eTIMS. So anything that was not on eTIMS, and I also said make sure that your expenses, we missed out on this. Most of us make sure that we have purchases, but not expenses. Also expenses, the rent, fuel, so repairs, petty cashes, make sure that they are also there. Electricity bills, make sure that they're also there. So they are saying if you did not claim in your monthly return, don't claim it here. Don't incorporate those amounts here. For further clarification and support, kindly liaise with the your respective tax service officer or KRA contact center. Remember, it is saying yours. I hope you know by now that any company in Kenya is tagged to a KRA person, or we call them accounts manager. So when you go to KRA and you give out your PIN, you're always directed to somebody who is under that PIN, your PIN. So that is the person you are that person that is supposed to counter check your information. I don't know if they'll be able to counter check all our information. We're going to see how this opens up. This is January. We're going to see how it opens up in February, and especially by April, where we do balance of tax. So what is balance of tax? You have paid installment taxes during the year 2025. So when you get your profits, you multiply. When you get your profit, you do the corporation 30%. That amount you multiply. You can do it as income tax or profits. You multiply by 110, meaning that every year there's an expectation that your profits are going to grow by 10%. Then you divide by 4. And then you pay quarter 1, quarter 2, by December, you pay the 4 quarters. And then when it comes to now this period from January to April, 30th April, you're supposed to do balance of tax. So any company that made a profit last year, you're supposed to file your return by 30th April. See your June 30th April. You do your return, you pay what we call balance of tax. Meaning the money that you paid, for instance, you paid 200,000. When the auditor comes and do their calculation, then they say, by the way, you are supposed to pay 220,000. That 20,000, it is paid by 30th April. Otherwise, if you delay to May or to July, to June, you pay a penalty on that amount. So we're going to see, because by April we do a lot of filing. They were going to see, and of course I'll be doing tax trends every month. So be here to see the tax trends. We're going to show you what will be opening up and how, especially this validation, because I will be mentioning what is happening. So eTIMS reverse invoicing. So some of you wanted to understand how it is done. So the next one, we're going to learn about effective use of eTIMS. I'll still mention this process, but I can mention reverse invoicing under eTIMS is a mechanism that allows a buyer to generate the eTIMS on behalf of the supplier who is not enabled on eTIMS. So these are people who say, oh, I don't know how to use eTIMS. Those people that mentioned, the mamambogas, the foodies who come, all those people, they come and you're telling them, for me to pay you eTIMS, even those farmers, but they have a PIN. So there is the buyer-initiated reverse invoicing. I mentioned this under USSD code, the 222 hash. You can do it on your phone, but it is still available on all the other platforms. Kuna eCitizen, kuna iTax portal, kuna iTax portal. There is the buying of the eTIMS client, the one that you buy. A machine, the eTIMS client that you download. We have eTIMS application. We have an app, by the way. Unaweza download kwa simu, eTIMS app. I'll mention all those things when we'll be talking about all those eTIMS, different forms of eTIMS. Even eTIMS online, you can connect it to your QuickBooks. And you say, I don't want to think about eTIMS. Kila kitu uza weka kwa eTIMS. Okay. So supplier details, you go to the code, supplier details, you put the PIN, the nature of the good, the transaction value, the VAT status, if you're charging, if you're not charging. If they are below the threshold, of course, you don't input that one. You just need an eTIMS invoice at the end of the day. And then the supplier acknowledgement. The supplier may acknowledge or retain a copy of the invoice for their record through tax reporting responsibility remain distinct. So remember the moment you are doing this. So remember the moment you are doing this, they are supposed also to be doing it on their side. They are supposed to do filing on their side. Okay, so so there is how it looks like. Message after registration, initiated invoice at the buyer and the seller accepting or declining. So there is that. You have successfully registered for eTIMS. You have created a buyer initiated. It comes to you as a message. And then on the other side, the person is able, dear, has created and to approve or decline. There is the approval part. So it has to come back to them, especially so that they can be able to know that there's something like that happened. So I'll teach more on that and especially put those examples. So solutions. I guess before I give solutions, let me see if you have questions. Okay, I can see some of them were answered. Thank you. No. Okay. Okay. So most government institutions are not offering, I can see a question like that. So let me give the solution. Then I can see there are so many questions. Let me give the solution, then I come back to that. So the solutions, they come, do not panic. Don't panic. This is the time to just align your 2025 books. And for year 2026, because we have started, just push yourself for compliance. Just push your business for compliance. Align your records, mentioned that. Register for eTIMS if you have not done that. And also make sure that you're able to capture. Ensure all your expenses have valid eTIMS invoices. This is especially where we miss mostly. You may find that most of us will have purchases, but our expenses are missing a lot of eTIMS. So make sure that going forward, you have those eTIMS. And just as hard as it seems, just buy from someone who can give you that eTIMS invoice. So keep proper eTIMS supported invoice, seek help, engage a tax consultant, a tax advisor to help you. So, and that's what we do. We can align your records and we can also be able to handle your tax issues. So that is very, very important. It is able to give you peace of mind. So let me go back to answer the questions now. So ask as many as you can. Nitaanzia za juu. So I can see someone answered, so I'll answer the ones. So how does this work for supplier who submit manual invoices raised out of eTIMS? Manual invoices, that's okay. Remember, an eTIMS, you can print an eTIMS receipt. Especially if you're having the machine, you can have an eTIMS, you can do your invoice on QuickBooks, then you generate an eTIMS invoice. Now ushikanishe. So they still, I don't know if that's what you are meaning. But just make sure that you give out your PIN so that at the point of filing, especially for VAT, you can be able to find that information on your site. Is it possible to check the invoices that went through eTIMS for non-VAT registered in the course of the year, especially? So for you, sorry, I can see my co-host. For you to receive the notes, you can be able to register. You can be able to register for that on the link provided. So aside from eTIMS, it must even for startup companies or to withhold tax 2% on each invoice from suppliers? Or do you have to wait to be appointed as a withholding agent? You have to wait to be appointed. And this time, we used to see the appointment being done by the time you hit 50 million and above. But right now, I see them being issued so quickly. Even if you're not on that threshold, you just be appointed as a withholding agent. Can an airline whose service is VAT exempted do VAT return on office expense and as asset on yes, you can. Yes, you can. And I also mentioned for people who are exempted, you can still issue the eTIMS under the exempted portion so that you can be able to have your details for purchases and the detail for your expenses. That is why we are headed that all our transactions have to be there. Advice on electricity bills and county permits. I'm aware that most of these government institutions don't issue some of these, but you can be able to get that information as you move. And I'm very sure that some of these institutions will also be pushed to provide the information. Make sure that you have proper records. So anything that was not eTIMS compliant and you know you have the documentation, especially from government institution, just have it physical document. Is it possible for eTIMS reverse on special? Remember, I mentioned special table is very hard. It is very hard. You cannot do reverse invoicing. You cannot do invoicing for someone who is in special table. It will not accept. VAT machine Teams is equally okay if you're using Teams machine. It has an advantage because there is no explanation of what you're selling. That is the advantage. But I foresee by possibly next year, they will say that we don't use Teams machine. We all graduate to the eTIMS machine. So possibly that will be happening. Do you need to be on eTIMS when you have VAT machine? I don't know what you mean because the VAT machine has to be eTIMS compliant. So the machine that is used right now, those VAT machines, they are eTIMS machines. And I mentioned that the next, let me also say, the next audit will come from how we use eTIMS. So after validation, the next audit will be on how we use the VAT, the eTIMS machine. Remember, the eTIMS machine has the stock management space where when you buy something, and I'll use a hardware, if your core item is cement, when I come to buy, you sell to me, you describe that I bought cement and tube mine what. When you buy your item purchases, you buy from these companies, Babuli, Savannah, all of them, they are super, super compliant. Actually, you not purchase without getting an eTIMS invoice. So all your purchases, they are on eTIMS. But when you come to sell, you select. So you're selecting, you sell to Regina with eTIMS, you sell to somebody else cash, the other person you don't sell, there's no transaction, but all your purchases are on eTIMS. KRA, the next frontier after they do this, they'll come to check on how you use the eTIMS. They will say, you bought cement worth 5,000 bags from Savannah for a full year. But on your side, when you are selling to Regina and others, you sold 2,000 bags. So they will ask you, where are the 3,000 bags? Either they are on your stock or you under declared your sales. So that is also very, very important to share. So that is the only difference between eTIMS and TIMS. eTIMS, you have to describe you're selling what, but TIMS, there is no that description. So the reason why we are still using TIMS is because some of us really spent money to buy that machine and others really a lot of machines. So that investment has to continue for some time But also for that analysis to happen, all of us has to be onboarded on eTIMS. But at the moment, there is no sale of TIMS machines, it's only eTIMS. Hello, I'm an event. In the event, my expenses are legit and I can prove payment from M-Pesa and bank, but my invoices do not have eTIMS. Do not have eTIMS as my supplier do not understand. They are reluctant. What happened because most of the SME don't have eTIMS charging. Okay. Okay. So this is what I can say. Of course, this will necessitate an audit. KRA will tell you, okay, if your expenses are legit, bring them, bring proof of payment. Proof of payment is your bank statement. And remember, because the moment you give your bank statement, there's always so many other issues because you find that the bank will also have other money declared right there. So it is a very huge trigger. So you give them bank statement to show the payment. So it is an audit kind of process that you're opening up to. And this process can also go back to 5 years backward. So to 5 years. So what do I mean at the end of the day? If you can be able to buy something from somebody who is registered for eTIMS, it can really solve most of those issues. I did a new return for the year 2020, yet I had done some invoices. How should I go with that? I did a new return for year return. So Rebecca would want to hear more on that because at the moment, I don't know when you did that because at the moment the system is locked, but you can do an amendment. Remember, if you want to see your eTIMS transactions, you can be able to open your eTIMS portal and be able to see all the transactions during the year, all the sales that you did. And with those sales, now you can be able to do a business income. These are the sales, these are the expenses, and these are the profits. So bank charges, I said, they are exempted from eTIMS. So some of these things they might just overlook, but I also mentioned if for instance you do bank charges of 1 million and your sales is 10 million, that is a trigger. So bank charges sometimes you find bank charges like 3,000 or 4,000 in a month. So sometimes it is not very significant to trigger something, not unless you really put a lot of money on it. Apparently, our system have purchases balance. How do I check what was the exact purchase? You can open the eTIMS portal. Remember, there is iTax portal. There is also eTIMS. eTIMS can be able to show those details. Does the income tax validation apply for year 2025? Yes. Yes, Onesimus, it is applying for income tax for year 2025. Please advise on NGO in terms of eTIMS compliance. So we'll also see how that comes in. Remember, an NGO also is supposed to file their return through KRA, where you say these were our incomes, this is our surplus. There's a way we file them, but remember they also have expenses, they also have purchases. We're going to see that. NGOs are not for profit making. Sometimes there are no taxes raised out of them. The taxes that are raised could be salaries, those NS, SHA, and the rest. So possibly with them, KRA would concentrate on that area where they can be able to raise taxes out of it. So I'll keep you posted in case they mention something on that. Yes, I'll share a soft copy of the presentation. You just need to register on the link. And if you have tax issues, we are the best on that. As far as 2025, so I don't know how. It's also a process to be a lot of work for them to be able to reconcile. So we are going to see what happens if you don't have a physical eTIMS invoice, got lost, but you have it validated, was in the out of pocket. That's okay. That's okay. If the data is there, that's okay. But make sure that you just keep this data properly. Make sure that you keep it properly. Maggie is asking if you sell unga, is unga exempted or zero rated? So you can, that one I would ask. So mostly you find that so for that something to be zero rated, you get VAT refunds on your purchases. You get your VAT refunds. When it is exempted, the VAT, you absorb it as cost. So most UNGA companies, they do it as exempted. But UNGA is something that is very political. So sometimes you find that it is pushed from exempt to zero. When it is pushed to zero, there are refunds that are provided so that the UNGA prices goes down. So somebody who is selling UNGA here atuambie kama saizi wako exempt ama wako zero rated. So at the moment, my feeling is that they're exempted. Please clarify on the reverse invoicing process on eTIMS portal. Okay. I mentioned, I had showed the process. So because the process, I've curated it very well, I'll share the notes and then you can go through the process. And I mentioned when you're doing the reverse invoicing, the person has to accept. So that there's a catch there, they have to accept. Does KRA apply a more flexible or relaxed compliance approaches to businesses with annual turnover is 5 million? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Especially because these businesses are not VAT registered. VAT is extremely hard. I would say it is one of the hardest tax obligation. And it requires a lot of understanding when you're doing it. So just the fact that you're not doing VAT on a monthly basis, you're flexible and relaxed. Yeah, just make sure that the rest, you have your expenses and you have purchases very well, put very well. And at the moment, by the way, if you want to be a VAT registration and you're not on the threshold of 5 million, previously we used to have voluntary registrations. Size before we register you is a very long process. Even those voluntaries are not even working. They are not even working anymore. So it is a very hard process at the moment. So enjoy that point, the fact that you're not doing those VAT, they are very taxing. eTIMS portal only shows sales data. What are the purchases and expenses that are captured on eTIMS? Oh my God, Isaac, I mentioned that when you're filing for VAT, make sure that you have your purchases. And also, it is going to auto-populate. The purchases auto-populate. The expenses, if you give out your PIN, they also auto-populate. So there is a eTIMS auto-populate. We have the eTIMS, how you can see the eTIMS transmitted information. You can see on eTIMS, on your eTIMS, you have your eTIMS password and name and password for eTIMS. You see your sales. You see your sales for eTIMS. Oh, Rebecca did in December. Oh, Rebecca filed the return in December. Okay. So for January, there's a challenge. You can't be able to file any return if you had eTIMS transactions. So what happens to donations in eTIMS treatment, especially if you have students whom you are paying for them fees with that donation? That's okay. That's okay. Make sure that you have correct information. Remember, all these things that are above eTIMS view, the ones that are beyond the eTIMS, you have to have proper documentation, because at one point you'll be queried. There will be a query on it. Just have proper documentation so that you can be able to answer that question. Implementation of eTIMS validation reflects a cash-based approach. How do we treat expenses in card and money hasn't exchanged hands as that since we reported using accrual-based approach? So I'm very sure that, Mercy, you did an eTIMS invoice. You were asking your customer to pay you. And this is how, remember the other time I used to say when we were doing VAT, we were told the purchases were valid for 6 months. But the moment you do a purchase right now, you view it immediately on that same month. So all the sales that you did, you are not paid. And this is where eTIMS has been, or VAT becomes punitive, especially because the tax point is at the point where you generated the invoice. It's not at the point where you get paid. And this one becomes very difficult for people who are selling on credit. You generate an invoice of $1 million today through your sales. It's a sales. Your KRA asks you for that 16%, possibly 100,000, 160,000. They are asking for that money, yet you have not been paid that money. So that is very hard, but that is the tax point. Whatever comes earlier of invoice generation, a payment done, or the delivery of that item. So I'll give an example. If you're selling cement, let me just give the cement also. So you generated an invoice. Number one, there was no cement that was picked from the shop or any delivery that was done. That is a tax point. The next point, you could have received, so you are the hardware. The next point could have been that the hardware, your customer comes and picks the items, that the items are delivered, or the money is coming to your account. So there is an invoice, there is a delivery of the items, or the money comes to the account. Anything that happened, the earliest of that, then that is a tax point. And this is what happens when you're selling something on credit. You generate an invoice first. And that point, you're supposed to pay your taxes. And this is also very hard for people who do contract work. especially with the counties where you do a lot of work and the county tell you, generate to us an invoice of 10 million or 20 million so that we can pay you. You generate, KRA is asking for their money today. That invoice, you go around the whole county, nobody is paying you, they pay you 6 months later. Taxes become very hard on you because the moment you generated, KRA is waiting for that money. And you cannot tell them, I have purchases next month that can counter this sale. So let me push it to next month. Apana. The moment you do it that month, you did not have a credit, you pay. So they'll tell you that credit for the next month, enjoy it the other month, not this month. You're using Teams today is not a must. It's not a must to shift. If your company was not registered for eTIMS for 2025 return, Nicholas, we're going to go through audit, but we're going to see what happens. If you have eTIMS invoices that were declining when filing VAT return, the supplier is eTIMS compliant, Safaricom. Can you allow them for corporation tax? So Nancy, you are supposed to go back to your supplier and tell them that they are declining for filing VAT, so that they can check on their side. Mostly there was a problem on their side. They check and they make sure they give you invoices that are auto-populating properly. So that one you should have checked. And that's why I'm saying there are companies that are very strict. They can't pay you until they verify that invoice, it can be able to auto-populate properly. And if it doesn't have issues. So I'll do 2 more questions. What if a company, we never gave our PIN when purchasing some items, but the seller went ahead and issued us an eTIMS receipt that has not captured our PIN? I tried to use the buyer-initiated invoice, but failed. Declare the purchase in our income tax since I can't scan the eTIMS. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. It's only that I believe for purchases, there was that section where you could add purchases. Even if they were eTIMS compliant, I believe there was a section where you could add them. Someone you can tell me. I remember exempt, as long as they had eTIMS invoice, you could be able to add them on the VAT return. So when filing for monthly VAT return, do you only use the auto-populated figures or both sales and purchases, or you need to cross-check? You first cross-check and add other, no, I believe at the moment you can only add sales. There are no additional VAT purchases, I think so. At the moment, my co-host, you can tell me if that's the correct position. Yes, thank you, Nancy. Nowadays doesn't allow manual addition. Thank you. Yes, no addition. Thank you. Thank you for that. Because there is no addition, make sure that you give out your PIN, and the PIN is, the data is captured very, very well. And yeah. So thank you so much. I want to introduce you to our masterclass. We have a masterclass. I'm going to share the notes with you, of course. And we're also going to be having this conversation every single month. We'll be doing a tax trend. I'll teach you more on eTIMS to just make sure that you're more compliant. Don't be stressed up about it. This what I can say. Don't be stressed up. Just walk with the flow. If something is affecting everybody, don't be stressed about it. If it was affecting only you, then you can be you can you can be stressed. But as long as it is affecting all businesses, you just ask your friend, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And then we just move in a flow. When seasons change, they change. So that is what I can say. Seasons change, they change. And we don't have any other way out. When eTIMS was introduced, I was on the side of saying we don't do it. And we fought and we used it. When auto-population came in and we could no longer be able to key in our records, I was there and we still worked. When withholding was incorporated, withholding, and that actually somebody you would not pay somebody full amount, you withholding 2%. It was difficult. Some people are telling me that 2% is my profit. Oh my God. Customers were telling me that 2% that I'm withholding is my profit. And we took time, especially for those people who are appointed at that particular point. But right now, withholding is a non-negotiable. It's not an issue. People understood it. Teams came in. We had issues. We understood it. We are now on eTIMS. We fought ourselves. We were saying, no, I can't do this. We are there. Now we are here on validation, where our expenses and our purchases have to be eTIMS compliant. Tutapigana hii mwaka, next year will be in somewhere else. And I believe, and this is what I say, because sometimes when I train tax, you say, oh, I'm an employee and a KRA. No, I defend you as a taxpayer. I totally defend you. When I come to your organization and I see your 20%, I was compliant, I will stand with you until we win. We will win that case. That's what I do. But also, when I looked at your business and I see growth, and I see you are at 50 million turnover and you can go to 100 million, I give you safety of taxes and tell you we can push compliance. And this is what you are going to do. These are the tax saving strategy. This is what you can do so that your company can grow. Otherwise, most of companies don't grow because you're having stress of taxes. But yet, there are companies they are our clients who are at billion level at tax compliance, at LTO. They don't even pay as much taxes as we even think. Why? Because it is just a mindset shift, and that business can be able to go to that level. So don't we be worried. This is a process. Tutaifanya pole until we get to that level. Next year, if KRA comes with something new, we fight. Tukiona hawachani nayo, tunaingia tukiflow, because at the end of the day, we have to do business. We have to do business. At the end of the day, we can't close our businesses down because of taxes. We just understand, you can call me and you can talk about it. You can talk about how you can be able to navigate the processes. And if you have a tax query, you can talk to us. So I can see your questions still coming in. I want to advise that you can pick our number. We do a free calendar. You can call and ask a question for free. So you can call and ask a question for free. How do you get notified? We are going to have your email, and you can follow us, RWK and Associates. RWK Africa. Follow us on our pages. You just see those signals. We do it every month. It is on a Friday. We do the tax trends. We do a topic, and we also do sector-based. We do horticulture. We do manufacturing trainings, tax trainings. We just keep you posted. And I also train on bookkeeping, and I train on audit. And I always say the moment you keep your books well, you solve tax issues 80%. Hiyo 20% uniachie. So yako ni bookkeeping. Na uifanye vile nimekuambia. Huko kwingine you just leave it on our side to just handle tax issues. Tax issues are easy when you keep your records properly. With that, let me introduce you to our tax master classes. So we'll be having a tax master class on March. We have both physical and online. We introduced physical because there are people who just say the online is becoming so tough for me. So 3 days of just learning on tax will take you through all taxes, and we also do practicals. You have your laptop, you're going to do practicals. We're going to show you all the taxes, and also about the audit process, the ADR process, the objection process, all of them, even how cases go to High Court. We take you all through that process so that you can learn, understand tax. That is one of the biggest way for you to win tax issues when you understand. So this is for accountant, for business owners, entrepreneur. It is very, very simplified. So you really don't have to, we simplified it and we make it practical as possible. So that is, we are doing it in March, and this also a lineup. So we have the tax master classes. We have the audit and bookkeeping master class. Will be happening in May. We also have another tax master class in August, and the final bookkeeping in October. So we'll be having 4 of them this year. So you can have the calendar and just plan. Ujasoma will give you a certificate, but the learning that you're going to get will be very valid, especially because we interact with the customers. So we know especially what are the issues, and we make it as practical as possible. If you want to talk to us, especially on tax issues, on audit issues, our numbers are there: 0728 89 74 29. So we can handle all your tax issues, especially now KRA is so aggressive on tax. So aggressive. There are so many tax cases out there. So don't pre-assume them. Ati ukiambiwa, send us bank statement, what were you just sending? No, talk to me, I'll charge you something small, but I'm telling you, I'll save you a lot of hassles. I'll analyze the details for you. I'll arrange them very, very well. Our biggest trend is on data provision and understanding the case. So we are able to answer on your behalf, to really represent you very, very well. So you can talk to us and let us handle that. If you don't have a KRA issue, we have tax compliance check. You just want to understand where you are. How do you move on from here? Because you're feeling all over. You're just feeling all over the place. We can do a tax health check. We charge just 20,000 to just give you a tax health check. And you're going to look at 2 years of how you've been able to pay taxes. I'll advise you on tax saving strategies, on how to move forward on your business, and just have a tax planning that will help you on the next level. So you can talk to us on that. So we do audit, internal audit, and the rest bookkeeping. So thank you so much for being together with us today. So the webinars, we don't have CPDs. For the webinars, we don't have CPDs. This is just free webinars to train you. But when you come to a masterclass, you're going to get those CPDs. So asanteni sana. Asanteni sana. So asanteni. Let me consult on something. Just a minute. We also have an accounting software. I don't know if my team was ready. Every time I do a webinar, we get to do a demo for 5 minutes on my accurate books. I don't know if my team was ready. So let me just consult. If you just here, you can stay you can give me another 5 minutes to just explain on it. Okay, so if you're still here, we have an accounting software. I wanted the team to be ready to just tell you about it for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. If you're free to go, thank you so much for coming to our webinar. God bless you. If you want to know more about it, you can stay. Let's continue interacting. You can follow me on TikTok and let's continue with the conversation. For CPDs, I mentioned for the free webinars, we don't. But if you come for the master classes, you get a certificate. For CPD, you need a certificate to show that you learned something. So this one, we give them free of charge. And we just look for issues that are affecting taxes and we just come and discuss. So thank you so much for that. My accurate books now configured. We are going through the KRA process to configure it with the eTIMS. So KRA takes time. They take time to give us they've taken time to give us the IPIs, but we are on the final processes. I'm very sure that this year we'll have the add-on. But remember, you can use it. Then have your machine. You can have the eTIMS client or the eTIMS machine so that you can be able to generate your invoice the same way you generate an invoice through QuickBooks then you generate another one through eTIMS na unashikanisha. You can still do that. When we started it, most of the people, I don't know, hata when we are selling it, when you say it has eTIMS, mtu anasema hapana, nataka ile haina. So most people prefer that they have an accounting software and they have eTIMS on the side, which is still okay, but we are getting there, that if you'd want to have it configured that you can have all your sales under eTIMS with that process and you have it available. So Gashoka, you can tell me if you're ready and you can take over.
Hello, good afternoon. Yes, I'm ready to take everyone through. So, without waste of a second, my name is John Gashoka, and in the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'll be taking you through the web version of my accurate books, because we have the mobile version as well. It's an extremely simplified system, and I can confirm to you that we've had a tremendous growth since the last time we engaged. I know we had a conversation probably mid last year or at the beginning of the last quarter of last year. And I can tell you that from that time, the numbers have grown in a big way, including subscription of people from far and wide within the borders of Kenya. So at this point, allow me to take you through the system. And I know if not all of you, some of you may have interacted with it, and therefore I'll share my screen. If you can see my screen, kindly send me a thumbs up. If you can see my screen, I invite you to send me a thumbs up. Then now. Yes. Okay. So you did you choose the quantity? All right. So if you go to Google search and type www.myaccuratebook.com, it will lead you to this particular page. You will be in a position to see who we are, features that you expect to see as soon as you sign up for the system, the charges or the subscription fee, or what I would call investment for you to get the services of this wonderful system. And at the same time, you might require demo away from this webinar. So we have a team that is ready to take you through. This normally takes around 20 to 30 minutes. And in the event that you need more information away from this session or even away from a demo, you're able to contact us on 0116333000, or even through our social media platform. We are on Facebook, we are on TikTok, we are on Instagram, and we are also on X. And when it comes to account creation, I know still on this platform, you're able to get resources. We have uploaded a video that can guide you on how you can create an account, how you can initiate a transaction, and even how you can even update information and extract reports from the system. When it comes to now account creation, you click on login. In my case, I do have an account. In the event that you don't have an account, you would start with signing up. And the process is extremely simple because you just need your name. If you have a company, whether registered or not, you're able to write the name, include your email address, create a password. And at that point, you're also able to indicate location of your business. And through your phone number, you're able to verify, or you'll be able to send you an OTP that you can use to verify while creating that account. At this point, you can also include your logo if your business do have a logo. And in the event you are unable to do that at this point, you can still upload it after creating your account. Now, since I do have an account, allow me to log into mine. And we'll start with going to the profile. Over here, if you click on the business profile, I had mentioned that if you create an account and you've not been able to upload a logo, or maybe you missed on some information, you can click on this edit and you will be in a position to edit information about your account. Secondly, I know that for every business, clients do make payment in different ways. But for a new account, you will see that the only mode of payment is cash. However, you are able to update. You're able to insert a new account, whether it's a bank account, M-Pesa, Pochi, or send money, till number, pay bill, whether it's a bank pay bill. Basically, when it's a bank pay bill, you're able to update it. If you wish to also use Swift transfer, you are able to do that. And I know we also have a wallet that we call My Accurate Pay. If you wish to use it, your clients are able to make payment through My Accurate Pay wallet. So having said that, I'll go to now the other bit that is also critical. When it comes to terms and conditions, I know when people are doing receipts or when you're doing an invoice or a quotation, maybe you require to key in some terms and conditions. You're able to do that at this point. And how you do it is whether it's on a delivery note, a receipt, quotation, or an invoice. You're able to key in your terms and conditions. And now, I know that when it comes to operations, it is very important that for whichever the business, you're able to tell how your transactions are going on a daily basis. And therefore, under the dashboard, you have a summary of how money is coming in form of sales, how you are expending on behalf of your business, and when it comes to stocking or updating your inventory. I know some of you might be in the service industry or even selling products. You're able to see how your products, the much that you've spent insofar as stocking is concerned. And again, you get a summary of your P&L in that basically you get a true picture of how your business is performing. Right below that, you're able to see a trend or a graph of daily transactions within your business. And I know for some of you, you offer services, maybe after a down payment, or maybe payment is made right after you offer that service. And therefore, you have a summary of how much your client owes you, or you're able to see how much money is out when it comes to people who owe your business. Right. I have mentioned products and services. And how do you update that within My Accurate Book? How you do that is when you click on item, you are able to add, like now within, in this account, I have over 1,404 items uploaded within this system. So the procedure is simple. You have two options. In the event that you have a very long inventory, you can download or you can import a system spreadsheet, and you'll be in a position to saturate it with the, or to update information of your stock. Again, whether you're in service or you deal with products. Right after that, as soon as you update that information, you can upload it within My Accurate Books. And when you do that, this will be the outlook of your stock. I know now that I have more than 1,000. Like now, I know I have, what you see here is I have a client who is in the medicine industry. So they are running a chemist. That is why some of the products are medicine. I have a client who is in the industry of animal feeds. That is why we have a sample of animal feed. We also have a client who is in wholesale. So all those products, you're able to upload them within My Accurate Books. After that, the next step, which is critical, is now being able to update transactions. And we are going to do one transaction for the purposes of this session. And because we have products, allow me to use a service. Because I also have a client who is in the security industry. So we can talk of guarding service. So maybe the charge is for one office, for one security guard on a monthly basis, and you select that product. So in this case, you are able to also include who is getting this service. So for example, if the client is Linux Systems or Zubeda Insurance Company, whom you're offering that service, you're able to say, to create an invoice or even generate a receipt. I know when it comes to service delivery, you mostly deal with invoices. But when you're dealing with just a client, you're able to generate a receipt. So in this case, allow me to do an invoice. And with an invoice, I know sometimes you may be dealing with different currency. So you can activate conversion of a currency. If maybe you are dealing with Kenya shillings, you can still maintain on Kenya shillings. So payment due, depending on when your client makes a payment, maybe they pay on the 26th of every month. So you could say it's 26th, but service, you update on the service, you update the date that you're generating that invoice. And still under terms or under description, because we'll get to description, we say this is maybe paid through paybill, or you remember where I told you can update payment accounts. So I have many of them. So depending on which one you use, maybe you could say we are using, let's say we are using Doris Events. That is the account that they are going to make payment. And after that, you say this is not a down payment. So we say there is a deposit. No, there is, sorry, we create that invoice. So this will be the outlook of your invoice that you can share on WhatsApp, on email, or any other digital way that is available. You can also print the invoice, and basically you can download it or print it from the system. So we can download so that you have a look at the outlook of that system or rather invoice. So in this case, our client is Zubeda Insurance. It has even all the payment details. So this is what you are able to send to your client. Having said that, we can return to sales. So I know with the product industry, sometimes you do purchase orders or you can do direct purchases. So when you're doing that, or even before we get that, you can also generate a quotation. So a quotation is as easy. You'll generate it as or you'll create it as you do while you are making a live transaction. So you type in what you are quoting for. You select your client and you include how you expect the client to make a payment. At the same time, I know with quotations, they expire. You give it an expiry period. If it's 1 week, you are able to do that. If it's a whole month, again, you are able to do that. So when you go to, you remember the transaction that you just made has not been paid for. So we'll come here under receive payment, and we can type the client that we offered that service to, that is Zubeda, and you say collect payment. In this case, we have 2 invoices, but we want to request payment for the 100 invoice, and we say pay now. When you do that, on the note, you could say that this is payment for service delivered in the month of January 2026, and you complete that. Sorry. So we say payment method, we'll use the same account, Doris, and we are receiving that payment or receive that payment in full, and we complete that transaction. So if you go to your paid invoices, you'll get to see that you have Zubeda's, and you can again view it and download it. Now, we go to purchases. I had mentioned that specifically for those who offer products or who sell products to their clients, you are able to update or you are able to create a purchase order. We can create one. So we say we want to buy, maybe we want to buy a brand, I'm a jam. And we want to buy 1,000, maybe 1 ton. Well, 1 kilo goes for 35 bob, so 1 ton goes for 1,000. And our supplier is, we could say our supplier is Viman supplier. We are issuing it today, and we create that purchase order. So as soon as Viman supplies confirm that they have that, we are able to edit and say this is approved. Approval type could be in form of a receipt or an invoice. Let's say payment is made before supply, and we give the receipt number. So we save changes. So that is approved. So if we go to pay purchase, we can say receive now. Payment method, we use the same account, that is Doris Events. Payment status, it's paid in full. So on the note, we can say that the bill is clear. So in that case, that payment is cleared. So if we go to items and we go to the product that we just updated, we have added 1,000 kgs. That is 1 ton. Initial stock was 1,010, so we now have 2,010. So if you go to your inventory, which we are going to see later, you'll be in a position to see that everything that has come in form of stock, you're able to pull out your inventory report. When it comes to expenses, you'll be in a position to record expenses, whichever expense that you incur. I know for different businesses, there are different ways of expending. Now, in this case, I have many of them. So, but for now, let's say we are paying for electricity bill. So this bill, we say we are paying through M-Pesa, and the amount that we are paying is 1,000. So these, it's token. And in the event that you wish to attach a screenshot of that transaction, you can upload it here and you save that expense. Having done that, I know some of you, when you're generating or when you're doing quotations, when you're doing invoices, it is critical that you have your customer's information. In that case, you can add a customer, whether it's an individual customer or a corporate customer. So with an individual customer, you just need their first and second name and a phone number. For the business, you'd require to have the business name and the contact person details. So with that, you're able to set up a business account as a customer. If you look at what I have individual accounts, I have business accounts. So it depends with how many clients you have. You're able to set up as many as you can. We also have institutions like colleges who have accounts with us, and they create custom accounts for their students, so they're able to update payments from their students. Having looked at customers, I know when you make a sale, when you spend on your business, you need to see whether the business has taken the right direction or whether the business has stagnated or you're making losses, so that you decide whether to close shop or to re-strategize even as you do your business. When it comes to accounting, I know I'll not dive deep into accounting, but you're able to get all these features, whether you want to see cash flow, balance sheet, trial balance, general ledger, if you wish to update your assets, whether fixed, movable, recurrent, you can see that within the system. So is journals and chart of account. All these are within the gold package as you're going to see for yourself. Under reports, we have the inventory. As I had mentioned, while we updated a purchase, initially we had 1,100 in stock, but we added 1,000. So if you wish to print out your stock report, you can do that. So it is able to show you what has been sold, what is in stock, and at the same time, it is also able to show you the worth of your inventory. I know with the service industry, there is no inventory, so that would not be a problem. And in the event that you are operating more than one branch, I know there is stock movement. If you have a branch in Nairobi, maybe you have another one in Nakuru, and maybe another one in Isiolo or Mombasa or Kajiado, you're able to move from either of the branches. You're able to move your stock, and you do it from this point, stock transfer. So you can move your stock from any branch. In my case, I have 3 branches. That is HQ, which is in Douala. We have one in Githofokoni and Katana Lounge. So you can move from either of these in the event that you are in the same line or the different branches offer the same services or products. Now, having looked at that, we can go to your P&L, to a P&L report. And for the stock sheet, you can download it in, or in PDF or in Excel. When it comes to profit and loss, and I want us to look at what we've just done today. So allow me to go to the day-to-day as we finalize. We are almost, maybe today, we just want a report for today. So today we have made a transaction of 3,000. We have cost of goods sold is worth 6,100. So gross profit, hii biashara inachoma, is negative 3,100 bob. And remember, we also paid for electricity. So our net income is negative 4,110. However, we cannot count that as loss because we have stocked. And our hope is that that stock by the end of the month will have brought in some revenue. So at the dashboard, I showed you a circular graph that shows you who owes your business. So in the event you have that, when it comes to reports, you're able to see your debtors, all of them, and how much they owe you, and the period money has been out. So is when you are delivered products on credit, you're able to see how much, and you're able to see how long you've stayed with that credit, so that again you can plan on making payment. On sales report, whether you wish to pull out a report daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually, you're able to do that within my accurate books. And you can do that, you can get both Excel or PDF reports. Most importantly, in some businesses, I know you have more than one staff and responsibility or rights within the system. So if you go to user management, you're able to see, you're able to give rights to different staff. And in the event that they do not work with you, you can deactivate their account. In my case, we can use one account. For example, this one for, you can use one for maybe John Kim. So we want to view the rights that John Kim has. In the case of John Kim has only two rights, that is sales and customer. So he does not have access to inventory, dashboard, purchases, expenses, basically every other right. But if you wish to, sorry. If you wish to give them more rights, you're able to do that. And if you wish to delete the account so that you can add another staff, you're able to do that as well. On branches, as I mentioned, when you have more than one branch, you can add a branch. So it depends with the package that you're in. And allow me to show you the different packages that we have. Currently, we have two. So we have the standard and the gold package. So for the standard package, you have access to inventory management, invoicing, quotations, basically all that you can see. But you have limits because you cannot see transactions. You have no access to now the advanced accounting suite. So it would limit you if you wish to get comprehensive accounting. But for startups, it's a package that can be managed, because if you have not more than 6 users, they can operate using my accurate books. In the event that you have more than that, under the gold package, you get up to 20 users, and you can create up to 8 branches. So this one is advanced, and I wish to mention this at this point, that if you also wish to get an enterprise version, we can do arrangements on creation of an enterprise version. I know there are businesses that say that maybe I want my invoice to look like ABCD. In the case of these two packages, everything that you produce will have details of my accurate books and all that. But in the event that you wish to get an enterprise, which would require that you invest more, we are able to work on that together. So when it comes to rates, on a monthly, if you are to pay for a monthly period, you'll pay 500 for standard, 800 for the gold package. On quarterly, you'll only pay 1,400, 2,200 for the gold package. Semi-annually, you'll invest 2,800. If you go for gold package, you invest 4,600 shillings. And lastly, for the annual package, we pardon you a whole month. So you pay for 11 months, but you enjoy it for 12 months. That applies even for the gold package. Having said all that, I wish to open the floor for questions. I thank you very much for your time. Thank you. So Isaiah, I see your question is on once I choose a plan and purchase, what's the rough estimate of customization cost for startup with about 50 regular clients? So we don't charge you on the clients that you have. We only charge you on the users that you have. So if, for example, you went for the standard package, which is 500 a month, installation is there and then. You wouldn't require to wait for like a week or wait for someone to come on site. Installation, like now, if you just log in to app.myaccuratebook.com, you're able to create an account and even make a payment from that platform. So it wouldn't, but in the event that you need maybe installation with the POS, maybe drivers, we are able to you're able to help you collaborate with our developers or with our IT team to help you in installation. So that is something that can be done at the earliest opportunity. James Mbogo, who is one of our clients. I see your question is how can record invoices prepared from QuickBooks into my accurate books for self-management without having the stock control on accurate books. So Bogo, allow me to side chat you on this one. I think we've had this conversation and I'm happy to take it up as soon as I'm through with we are through with this deliberation, if that's okay with you. So Lena, you ask, which other softwares does it integrate with? So Lena, within the first quarter, in fact, that is one of our high priority. I know earlier I mentioned that we have a wallet. A part of what we are looking at is how we can integrate with, especially to help you on matters of reconciliation. So whether it's M-Pesa or whether it's with the banks, that is something that we are giving high priority. And also, I know one of the things that may come up is the issue of eTIMS. That is also a high priority for this period, or rather within this quarter. So is my accurate books AI integrated? I see my co-host has responded to that. So, because I know you've invested so much, does it integrate with ends rent out? Not at the moment, Lena, not at the moment. I think, again, with you, if it's okay with you, I'd be happy to further this conversation so that, again, we can deliberate with our team. I know this will be helpful to you and to even any other user who may have interest in such an issue. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for staying behind to ensure that we have a discussion around how we can simplify our bookkeeping and accounting. And I invite you to check us out on TikTok. We are My Accurate Books. You can check us out on basically Facebook, where we are on WhatsApp. If you wish to drop us a text or write to DM us, you can write to us on that number that I'm typing. That is our customer support number. We'd be happy to engage and to help you the best way that we can. If you wish, I know some of you may wish to create an account. I'm typing you how you're able to do that. So if you go to app.myaccuratebook.com, you will be in a position to do that. So thank you very much, and I wish you a wonderful afternoon and a great weekend. And can't wait to see you next week.